Hi everyone, it's me, Dania, and today, by this video's thumbnail, you can see that I'm today resigning Vox and Alastor of my AU because, I shipped them, and because I feel like there's some concepts of their characters that could have been done better, and, because how the show, like, for example, doesn't give them much body types, and, it's like my personal critique, for example, like, there's some characters who I think should be more muscular, and some characters who I think should be more skinnier, like Alastor, skinny, for me, makes sense for me, and Vox, I feel like he should have been a more muscular guy, and even as a demon, since, he basically has a lot of physical strength, we kind of see that a lot as a human, to be honest. And this is also because I have some personal gripes with the writing, and to be honest, and since the writing frustrated me so much of Hazbin Hotel that I decided, I'm gonna make an AU, and because and also I also redesigned Charlie, but I'm gonna make that for a separate video. So yeah, but right now let's start with Alastor and Vox. I will make commentary while I draw them. So let's start with Alastor first, because he's my crush. So in my redesign of Alastor, I decided to actually use his skinniness in explaining this way for him to be very super slim by making him half dull and half deer. Yeah. The dullness comes from his dad, and the dearness comes from his mom, who's a pretty strong woman, I'd say, mind you. Don't worry, she's gonna have character relevance here in the story, but I'm gonna mention her later. And so for this, I also decided that he could have, like, ED, basically, which was caused by his father, as his father got jealous of him when basically he was born and his mother's attention went from the father to him, and his father did not really like that, so he began to despise Alastor, despise his own son, by the way, who was a child, for basically taking his wife's attention, which was reasonable. So basically he would shame Alastor, make fun of his looks and body, tell him that you're too fat, you're eating too much, child. Oh, because of you eating this much, you're gonna cause the family a food shortage, and your mother will have to leave the house more in this dangerous city, in this horrible city. Like, basically guilt tripping after saying horrible stuff, which made Alastor very insecure about himself. And so after his mother, found out about how Alastor's dad was treating him and left him after this, divorced Alastor's dad, Alastor had the lingering effects of trauma since he was 7. So basically, in like, for example, eating less, so his mother wouldn't have to go out more, and so she could also have some good amount of food, because he thought he was being a burden by eating too much. He also felt very insecure, and that if he gained weight, that would make him very scared, and he would not try to not eat for a day. And if he did, he would eat one meal and that was it, which also resulted in him being physically weak, and also losing his ability to grow, which caused him to stop growing once he was like around 14 years old. So yeah, he had a pretty negative influence from his dad, which is really damaging for his mental health, to be honest, which also is still with him in adulthood, but less. Though Vox also tries to stop it, though sometimes Vox comments like, oh my god, you're so skinny, like a Disney princess. Alastor might take a compliment and feel the need to stay skinny, because Vox seems to really like it, because they get married, But I also want to state one more thing, is that Vox was actually very desperate for Alastor. Like, I want to say they have a 4 years age gap. Because she had Alastor when he was 10. Alastor was 14, but Alastor rejected him. In fact, I want to say Alastor at the beginning had no interest in Vox. I want to say this. I do not want people to think that, it was Alastor who was into him too and just waiting for him to get older. No. It was basically Vox, but he was the younger one. Alastor did not even show any trust in him, but by the time Vox was like 19, he was like 23, and Vox actually showing signs of being a little bit better and less spoiled. Alastor accepted him, and they got married, and they had Velvet, and after some years, basically 13 years later, they had another Husk, and and also Alastor had a lot of trauma when he gave birth to Velvet, since she was one of the most painful births he gave to. He was in the hospital for 40 hours. She also caused him a lot of blood, and also that actually kind of made his feel was and put him at a risk, but thankfully enough he was okay, but that left him some scars and a little fear of having another kid. And also Vox had it shaking up the whole family. And also I would like to suggest Rosie here, is that she was also very scared for Alastor, and she was glad he was okay. In fact, in my AU, Rosie is like Alastor's cousin, and Alastor really adored her. In fact, he was actually pretty much spoiling her. Alastor actually really loves kids. No, don't worry, he's not that way. Basically, that in fact, when he was during high school to college, he would actually volunteer to babysit his neighbor's kids, so that way he could learn how to take care of kids, and that really gave him experience, which is why he was very good with kids. And he also took home management and cooking classes as a way to become a better parent, or have a good family, because he actually really liked it. He's also a journalist in my AU, basically making news reports and stuff, because he actually wants to prove that even if he's skinny and weak, he's not that weak that he cannot handle himself and can take such risky interviews, which does scare Vox a bit, to be honest. But for Alastor tries to do it the safe ones for Vox, though he would like to take a risky one, but he also wants to consider his Vox feelings and does not want to give him any trauma. Like, I want to actually mention more about Rosie and his relationship, is that Rosie and him have a 6 years age gap, and Rosie actually came to his house when he was like 6 years old, Alastor, because Rosie's mom had some reasons to which she could not keep Rosie with her anymore. So she gave Rosie up to Alastor's mom to take care of her, and Alastor actually really bonded with Rosie quickly because he really loved her and felt like a support for him when his dad, I told you before, when he was 7 years old, mother left dad after she knew what he was doing to Alastor, hurting Alastor. And Alastor also really loved her. She was super sweet, and that also was one of the reasons why he's super good at play with kids and really loved them. In a sweet way. And he would play with Rosie every single day, and when he would cry, after his dad said something really horrible to him, he would go up to Rosie and play with her. He would play these little with blocks and stuff, and really he would also like to watch movies with Rosie. Heck, in fact, Alastor was also a Twilight fanfic, but Rosie was like, you like this? To be honest. Alastor also kind of used to get her a lot of monster drinks because she really liked them, and Alastor was often felt super gentle towards her that he would do it. Though his mother basically pressured him to stop doing that, so which he did. He tried to do it less, but he still kind of does it. And Vox, isn't rightfully baby girl, stop it, Alastor, you're doing this too much. And I was like, no, not that mad. Yeah, Yeah. And I also want to say in my AU, Alistair actually decided once he moved in with Vox, he actually wanted their house to be at least somewhat near to his mom, so that way, in case if anything happens to his mother, he could be there with her. So yeah, it's a very sweet mama's boys relationship, to be honest. And in fact, I would say his grandmother is a very good influence on Velvet. Velvet is their skateboarding child. Hee hee. So in conclusion, yeah, this is what my Alistair is right now. If I plan on revealing any other lore of him, I will try to make a comic about it. And in fact, if you have any comic ideas or what else I could do with his story and his ED, please tell me in the comment section below. And I hope you like my redesign of him. I feel like I want to remove also the extra details he has of his redesign, to be honest. Like, I feel like the show goes too over the top with the redesigns, so I decreased the amount of stuff he was wearing, and not that type, but you can see I give him this like professional like kind of look. And the tired adult one, Shaq to keep his important stuff. So yeah, I hope he looks pretty good for y'all. So here's my Alastor redesign for y'all. I hope you like it. Now let's go to Vox. For Vox in my way, I decided to make him muscular because his mother actually was the one who basically had him working out. Because hey, if he's not really working a job right now as a kid, he might do some exercise, which makes him much more stronger compared to Alistair. And both of his parents were like really loving people towards him, like whatever. Actually, the Vox mother regressed him a bit too much, but she still cares about him. While the difference between him and Alistair is that Alistair didn't have a loving dad while he did. In fact, his dad is really, really sweet and really loved Alistair the first time he met him. Vox mom took a little bit time to warm up though. Also, basically, when Alistair was 10, he had a superiority complex because of the fact that he was rich and he thought that he was better than everybody else, and that because he was also pretty strong, he was like, yeah, I'm the alpha, you're the weakest type of guy. But though he knew he was very much strong compared to Rosie, but Alistair, he thought Alistair was weak, but then he saw Alistair stand up to him, it roasted him, it insulted him, and that actually sparked something. A crush, because no other guy dared to be like that to him, and Vox now wanted to be with Alistair that time. Yeah, that's how it started. Sorry for my huge amount of sniffing. I actually have a nose problem, which I would require surgery for, to be honest, which I'm pretty shocked about myself. So anyways, back to Vox. So yeah, Vox is like the co-CEO of the company that he works in with his mother. Now, Vox's mother is pretty like this stoic type of woman, but I want to say, and she never cried. Yeah, somewhat like, yeah. But she actually got sad to tears when Velvet was born. Like, seriously, heck, she almost like could have cried at Vox wedding, but she didn't. Like, this woman only started crying when she saw her granddaughter. So yeah, you could expect her to be the grandma who loves her grandchildren a lot, treated her sweetly, but then has her kids, and she was like, eh, to them when they were younger. So yeah, to say his dad is like the pretty opposite of him, more kind and caring, like you could say Alistair, but more soft and then had a temper issues like Alistair. Vox does have like a big ego, like I mentioned earlier. Like this man one time thought when he was younger that he could beat Carmelia in an arm wrestle, then she broke his arm in it. It didn't intentional. He just wanted to pin it down, but it didn't work for Vox. Also, Vox actually made this deal with Rosie when they were younger that if he would actually tell him stuff about, if he told him about stuff that Alistair liked, he would pay her with these energy drinks she liked a lot, which Rosie accepted instantly. So if you want to know how Vox at a young age managed to know a lot about Alistair without even like talking to him, Rosie was one of the reasons, and he would actually try to communicate, though Alistair wouldn't do it much. I want to say, though in adulthood they started talking a lot when Vox was like 19 and Alistair was 23, and then they got married, and then Velvet came, and voila voila. Also, I'm imagining at some point, imagine Mimsy and Vox having a Yoi versus Yuri battle, and Vox is winning because he managed to have kids with Alistair, while Mimsy doesn't even have any kids with Rosie, and they're not even official. Some of Vox's hobbies are to like check out his tablet and play video games. He also likes to like watch movies at times, binge watch shows, etc. He likes sci-fi a lot. He likes to even yap a bunch, and Alistair's listening to him a bunch. He also likes to act like a boss when in reality Alistair's more of the dominant one. But Alistair can also be submissive in his own unique way. Wiggling eyebrows, eh? So, to be honest, that's all I gotta say about my AU about these two right now. Don't got much. Oh, wait, I actually have to say something about Husk. Is that Vox seems to consider Husk a huge brat. Because Husk whines a lot, though he's two, which makes sense. But he whines a little more because, Velvet actually has him watch her playing video games. Yeah, cool big sister. And Vox is like, oh my god, brat, stop! spit and eat your food, you little brat. Oh my god, just drink your milk, brat type of dad, who's like, oh, my son is such a brat.
I got my Stanley
But
Cup
with
last
Bobby, he
week
was
on
like,
my third trip to
girl, just
Target.
eat it
Yeah, all my
already.
friends
Girl,
are
just
super
eat it
jelly 'cause
already.
they can't
But for
afford
us,
it.
he's like,
I got
brat,
that 3 in
just
every
eat
color. Now
it
can't
up.
pay my
Stop
rent,
whining
but
like
at
a
least
little
now they can
brat.
keep me warm when I sleep out my tent.
We love our Stanley Cups. We live for Stanley
For the reason
Cups.
also when
Our Stanley
that's why I
Cups.
made him muscular by you, because he's a little more stronger, and because I feel like there should be more body types. Not every character has to be slim. Just because Vox is into technology doesn't mean he's gonna be not fit. He can't be fit. That's stereotypical, to be honest. Anyways,
Did you
I'm
see my
actually done
Stanley
with the whole
Cup?
redesign take. I hope you like my Alastor and Vox redesigns, and you could subscribe,
My Stanley
like,
Cup.
and watch my channel more. And if you have any other design ideas, tell me in the comment section below. I might do it. I may as well do them. So bye.